3.
Well, hello, everyone. Hey, I am so thankful. This is Chad McDaniel. I'm the president and co-founder of Execs in the Know. And first of all, I brought some amazing guests that I can't wait to introduce to you here shortly. But another piece of news, I won't be joining by camera. I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, that's a good thing. We had a service outage in our area, and I cannot get on the computer to join Nadine and Mandy via the computer. So, but Mandy and Nadine are going to take very good care of that aspect for us. But I hope everyone's doing well. I am so thankful for your time. We're going to really lean in today. When I do a webinar, I love it when we have a rich case study that we can really lean in on. And Mandy, I know you very well, and the committee knows you. I really appreciate the time you're going to give in today's case study and how you've leveraged AI for CX success within BSN Sports. But before we get started, I got a couple of slides I just want to go over with everybody, a couple of quick housekeeping things. This is going to be sort of a fireside chat between our speakers. There'll be some introductions. There'll be a Q&A at the end, wrap up final thoughts from my perspective, from a community voice. But please, we learn together through the conversation. If there's a question, a reflection, a comment, use the Q&A session in your panel there, and please put your questions forward. If you're new to Execs in the Know, welcome. I've been running the community the last 15 years. It really is a corporate CX leadership playbook. We call leaders learning from leaders. Really an unfiltered voice of us as leaders like Mandy and many other, that we're just sharing best practices and insights. We all know how much the landscape changes with consumer expectation, employee expectations, customer expectations, all of those things. But through our content, our research, our topic-based gatherings like this, you're never alone. Please continue to join us at Execs in the Know. You can go to our website, execsintheknow.com, for all of the information. And on that note, we have a fantastic advisory board. You see them here on the screen. Great leaders in our space, just really paying it forward to our industry, providing a lot of guidance as far as the topics and the things we do. Just great thought leaders and people that are making a difference within their respective brand in our industry. I really want you to mark your calendars. We twice a year will host our in-person summit. This is our national event called the Customer Response Summit. We're going to be in Clearwater Beach, just outside of Tampa, March 3rd and 5th. If you've never been to one of the summits, they're very personalized, enriched with content and learning. So do mark the dates. We hope that you can get there. We always put a lot of extra attention and time into these events and make that experience great for everybody that comes out to the in-person summit. All right, enough about Execs in the Know, but welcome audience, welcome Nadine, and welcome Mandy. Thank you for coming today. I mean, first of all, I know how busy both of your time is, and I asked you to help us in this conversation, this case study, so we are very grateful with it. Nadine, why don't we start with you, a little bit about your role there along with the company, and then we'll move quickly to Mandy.
Sounds good. Thank you for having us, Chad. And hello, everyone. I'm Nidhi. I'm joining you from Los Angeles. I'm the Senior Manager of Product Marketing at Gladly. And in my career, I've worked across various startups with experience in prop tech and the creator economy. And I'm now in the customer service space with Gladly. And I'm thrilled to be here today and have the chance to chat with Mandy as well and dive into how she, leveraged AI at BSN. But to give you a quick overview of Gladly, it is the AI-powered customer-centric service platform with a mission to put people at the heart of customer service. And while many solutions view AI in CX as an add-on, at Gladly, we believe AI should be an inherent part of the platform, and our focus really is on helping customer teams leverage AI to enhance their efficiency and elevate the customer experience end to end. And we're really passionate about the synergy between human and AI, which we believe drives the kind of efficient, personalized service that today's customers expect. And with that, I'll hand off to you, Mandy.
Awesome. Thank you, Nidhi, and thank you, Chad and Execs in the Know, for hosting us today. Always a pleasure to be a part of this group. I know I leverage a lot of my CX knowledge and leaderships learnings from the Execs in the Know community. So happy to be here. My name is Mandy Gary. I am the Director of Customer Care for BSN Sports. For those of you that have never heard of BSN Sports, let me just highlight a little bit about what we do. We are actually the largest direct manufacturer and supplier of all things sports. So if you think about, Friday night lights, football game, we manufacture everything from field goals to turf, scoreboards. We also are a direct supplier for uniforms, shoes, helmets, really anything in the sports industry. We have 5 different e-commerce platforms where we service a multitude of, athletes, parents, fans, all across the board.
Well, I'm so amazed every time. First of all, Mandy, I hear about your business and the diversity, the complexity of it. It's quite fascinating. And for any listeners, if you get a chance, it's just bsnsports.com if they want to look at the website, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That'll take you down the rabbit hole for sure.
Well, excellent. And Nidhi, I'm just going to say with Gladly, thank you for the introduction. Gladly's just been a great partner of Execs in the community. There's a lot of people in our community that uses the services and really benefit from what you guys are doing as being a leader in the space. So thank you for the partnership, and thank you for the continued just customer excellence you guys are doing out there. Okay. We've got a conversation. I'm going to leave Nadine, you and Mandy to kind of talk through this, but I know our audience wants to hear some rich details, get some insights, learn about all the successes, maybe some of the opportunities, but there's a great case study here, so I'll turn it over to you two.
All right. Thank you, Chad. So yeah, we are here today to dive a little deeper into your journey, Mandy, with AI at BSN Sports and uncover some of the valuable insights that you have gotten throughout that journey. And so to kick it off, I would love to know what first got you interested in bringing AI on board at BSN Sports, and if there were any particular challenges or pain points that you were looking for AI to solve.
Yeah. So, Nidhi, I will start off by saying I think everyone right now in the CX space, and probably, expands even further than that, is thinking about AI. It's a hot topic. It's trending everywhere. Look at your phone or social media or the news, and AI is definitely the inevitable topic. And I think we're really just scratching the surface on what is the value of AI in so many different facets of our lives. The initial thought and kind of consistent challenge in my role is always, how do I improve the customer experience and how do I improve the employee experience? And I know that sounds like a really broad topic when it comes to AI, but there's so many different options with AI that's really what I wanted to kind of have as my North Star, is like, how do we both enhance the customer and employee experience? And to be honest, how we drill down from there, we really let Gladly kind of guide us through their product offerings and which pieces we wanted to tackle one at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way of like breaking down when you're kind of entering or starting on this AI journey. It's important to figure out how you want to embed AI into your CX journey as well. Like, is it agent facing tools you want to focus on? Is it customer facing tools? Is it a combination of that? And as you know, at Gladly we offer both. So it really is kind of pick your, how do you see AI best serving your goals? And I really like the way you kind of set it up. There are these 2 different ways, 2 different directions you can go in, or a combination of them. I'm also curious about starting with AI. There is, as you said, there's so much information out there about AI, and there are so many misconceptions also about AI. Did you face any of those? Did you have any of those misconceptions as you were embarking on this journey? and have those feelings evolved now that you're further along in your journey with implementing AI?
Yeah, well, Nidhi, you're right. It can be nerve-wracking jumping into AI. I grew up watching, Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger and I, Robot with Will Smith. And so
Yeah.
I think there's this like inevitable fear of, is like Skynet or these artificial intelligence robots going to just like take over the world and soon control us, whereas we hope to control them. So I think there's just some broader kind of fear and things with that. But relative to customer service, I think, in this space, we've seen some really innovative things over the last few years that, I'll be honest, I don't think have worked really well or been received really well for customers. Like, a couple years ago, we talked a lot about innovation in the IVR space and built out these really robust call trees where customers could press 1 to get here and press 2 to get here and press 3 to get here. And then we found out that like, this is actually a terrible customer experience because you press 1 and 2 and 3 and you still don't get where you need to go. And then you get hung up on and have to call back into the contact center. And, we thought it was great and innovative, and we were going to collect all of this data and understanding and route our customers to all these different places where you end up with customers yelling at the phones. And I've even seen like memes on social media about it where they're like, representative, press 0, trying to get to a representative. So I think, some of that sort of misconception and fear lives in some of these previously failed innovations. And then there's also, just generally like, are we going to start implementing these voice AI bots that are going to completely replace humans? And then you go back to sort of that Skynet theory. So there's a lot of it, but I will tell you, what's really shifted my perspective is starting to get hands-on with AI. And I think even just starting with things like Chat GPT on my phone and kind of having some fun with that. I recently started asking Chat GPT to help me construct text messages to my soon to be 13-year-old daughter. And I say, Chat GPT, I need to ask my daughter to do her chores. Please help me convey this in the tone of Dr. Seuss and make it digestible for a preteen. And so, really starting to just kind of have some fun, but figure out all of the different ways that I personally can use AI technology and Chat GPT and some of these things just to start diving into what that looks like and feels like from a personal perspective, and then being able to roll that into some larger initiatives in the workplace. But it sort of helped me kind of reduce those fears and misconceptions as to what is AI.
Yeah, and I love that you do that with ChatGPT. That's like something I'm gonna take note of and start doing in my day-to-day is like maybe we have themes for how we communicate during the holiday
Yeah.
season, and all text messages need to be in some kind of like, tone from maybe the
Yeah.
Grinch or something. Probably gonna use
Ooh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, maybe
You
we
gave
could
me
try
a
that.
little
But I
idea
really
here.
love Yeah, I really love the idea of you kind of testing Chat GPT or AI in whatever way, because what that also does is it kind of shows you what the boundaries are of AI today, right? Like there are
Mhm.
these concepts of yes, AI can do our jobs, and AI can take over the world someday, and that might happen in some distant dystopian future. But right now, with the technology that we have, as you start implementing it or as you start using it, you kind of realize where those boundaries are and what AI cannot do.
Yeah.
So that I think is a great way of also kind of centering your expectations around what AI is and isn't today. So yeah, I really love that. And I'm sure as you were thinking of implementing AI, your team also may have had initial thoughts and reservations about how this might actually manifest in at BSN Sports and how it might impact their day to day. I'm curious about, any strategies that may have worked for you as you were trying to get buy-in from your team and really ease their concerns around having AI be part of their CX operations.
Great question. So, Nidhi, I will start off by saying I like to have fun in what we do in the workplace. And I always like to think, how do we make things exciting, fun, and engaging for our team? And as we already referenced, AI can be scary, it can be intimidating. So we really sort of took this lighthearted approach with our team. And if you've ever been to Build-A-Bear, we kind of did a Build-A-Bear experience with our team where we started out by teasing out. Well, let me back up just a minute, because one of the things we did do first is we talked very openly and transparent with the team about what is AI, how is it coming into the customer contact space, what are different ways people are using it and leveraging it. And then also understanding how they're using it personally in their lives and if they had to kind of touched on it. Then we sort of shifted into this like fun, exciting thing, which was we teased out and even used like photos in our daily emails out to our team of this like robot that had not been adopted yet. And we called him Sad Robot. And so we had multiple pictures of Sad Robot in different kind of scenarios that we did use AI to help us construct like the visual of our Sad Robot. And basically told a story to the team that like there was this robot and he was looking for a team to be a part of, and got them kind of engaged, and then also teased out like this new exciting thing is coming, but it needs a home and we want you to embrace it and make it a part of the team. And then we started to personalize it. So we did like a fun naming contest with the team to see if what name ideas they had for the bot. And then in the end, we concluded with like an adoption certificate and a party to celebrate like we had allowed this bot to join our team. So it's been kind of fun and exciting for them, and we really tried to build it up in a positive way versus them feeling intimidated or like this third party or this other entity is going to come in and take their jobs or do something better than they can or any of those things.
Yeah, I really love that idea of kind of bringing your team along for the whole journey. I'm curious, what did you end up naming your adopted bot?
So right now his name is Stanley. And there was, multiple reasons for that, but sort of playing on like the sports industry and the Stanley Cup and some other iconic sports players that were associated with the name Stanley.
No, I love that. I love that. And that's a great way of kind of also making AI feel like it's part of the team and it's there to like work with you as opposed to, take your
Yeah.
job or do something that you're doing, do something better. Because at the end of the day, we know that synergy between human and AI is what's going to give us the experience that we want and provide the efficiency and the personal touch that customers expect. So having your team kind of see AI at the start as being part of that journey is really important. I also want to dive into like the nitty gritty of how you went about implementing it and measuring KPIs, but I would also like to kind of just go back to the early stages of implementation or thinking about AI
Yeah.
and how I would like to dig a little deeper into what did you envision AI success to be or the impact that it would have before you actually started implementing it? And has that vision shifted in any way as you've gotten deeper into implementation?
Yeah. So, to be honest, I think our first vision was really a grandiose vision of how we could take this AI technology and completely overhaul the CX process for agents and customers. And, we started dreaming really big about this. The evolution in the vision changed as we drilled down and started to look at the details of the ideas and really finding like what are the wins for both our agents and our customers. So one example is we introduced AI through the Gladly platform, using just really simple Gen AI option that allows agents to type a written message to a customer. And then our AI prompt will come up saying, do you want to make this message either more friendly or more professional? So really, like I said, starting with just some of those simple things where they could see, a quick return on their investment by utilizing that AI prompt, and then also how that affected that customer conversation if their message became more friendly or more professional.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up that specific capability because that's one of my favorites. As someone who writes for a living from time to time, sometimes you just cap out. And as an agent, you're talking to tens or hundreds of customers a day across multiple channels. Sometimes you just need that additional help with making it sound more friendly or empathetic. You might be feeling it, but it's hard to type it out sometimes. And it's
Yeah.
really one of those capabilities that may not seem like a game changer, but it has a very high impact on the day-to-day of agents and how they operate. So I really love that you brought that up. And I think a lot of folks have these grandiose ideas of how AI can help solve problems. Because to be honest, that's also it's also how it's been positioned in the market to some extent, right? But there is more nuance to how you implement AI and what it can actually do, and setting those expectations. The right expectations is important, which it sounds like you were able to kind of identify that as you were implementing AI and then reset expectations there.
Yep. And I think the thing is, we talk a lot about how do you quantify and qualify some of the things you're doing with AI. But to me, a great piece of feedback and a great thing to leverage is if your agent feels more confident in the message they're sending to their customer. And then ultimately, we know our customers are going to absorb that message in a more either positive or professional manner because it's got that AI overlay that's giving the message.
Yeah, exactly. It's some of the things that it's some of those items that you normally don't think of when you're implementing AI because you can't actually measure it. It's those
Yeah.
intangible things that actually do have an impact when you think about
Mhm.
it. Now let's dive a little bit into like how you prepped to bring AI at BSN Sports and what that process looked like, because we know that AI is only as good as its training, right? Even with ChatGPT, the response quality depends very heavily on what you're inputting and the prompts that you give it.
Mhm.
So I'm curious of how you approached training AI, whether that's restructuring or cleaning up data, setting up brand guardrails. Yeah, I'd love to hear about the groundwork you laid to ensure that your AI worked as expected.
Yeah, so I think, the first step for us was really, really started when we implemented Gladly. And we had to do a full, aggregation of our data and build a knowledge base. Pre-Gladly platform, we had, resources all over the place. We had tribal knowledge, we had PDFs, we had SOPs, we had Word documents, we had agents with notebooks on their desktops, and just sort of had things kind of spread all over, which was part of one of the efficiencies and one of the reasons we brought Gladly in. But it also helped us set up our knowledge base to be in a position where we were able to layer in that AI and have things centralized and organized in a way that was digestible for that AI concept. One of the things that we do is we leverage Gladly Answers to centralize our data. And the nice thing about that is those answers, and once we collectively pushed all of that knowledge together, it's both customer facing and agent facing data that now lives in this kind of centralized knowledge base. So then as we started thinking about the expansion of AI, we had both facets covered, like the customer facing knowledge base as well as our agent facing knowledge base were collectively in a place where we could then start to layer in some AI because we had organized it in that Gladly Answers platform.
Yeah, and I think that also brings up a very important point, which is the foundation, right? You need to have a very solid foundation when you're thinking of implementing AI. And I think it's worth, anecdotally speaking to other customers as well, I think I've come to the conclusion of it's worth spending time like building that foundation and making sure that you have clean data, that it's structured well, because then that means you're spending less time actually on the back end of it after your AI is live, going and updating things or making things right because your AI said something it wasn't supposed to say because it didn't
Yeah.
have that foundation, like giving the guardrails there. So I think that brings up a really good point of just cleaning up house a bit and then kind of bringing in AI. I'm
Absolutely.
also, yeah, do you anything to add to that, Mandy, before I move on?
No, nothing else to add there.
Awesome. And I'm sure that that entire implementation process was, since you had some of that foundation set up with Gladly, when you implemented Gladly, it was probably easier to do than for a lot of folks who are coming in and kind of starting from scratch. But I'm interested to learn if there was anything you wish you knew at the start of that implementation process that may have made things easier or smoother along the way for you.
Yes, great question. There's always hindsight's always 2020, right? And I
Yeah.
think, the one thing I wish somebody would have told me is this is going to be sort of a interesting analogy here, but I think it'll help kind of paint the picture is bringing AI into our stack was sort of like getting a puppy in my personal life, right? Like my last dog, it's like I went to the shelter and I saw this cute little puppy and was like, "Oh my gosh, I love this dog. I can't wait to bring it home and live a wonderful life with it and it's going to snuggle me and do all of these great things and love me so much and I'm going to love this puppy." And then you get the dog home and reality sort of kicks in. It's like, oh, wow, these puppies have a lot of needs. They need a lot of training. Like someone has to teach them to use the outdoors as a bathroom. And you have to train it how to sleep and where you want it to sleep. And then you have to train it to go on a leash and walk properly. And the list goes on and on when it comes to figuring out how to properly raise and train your puppy. And I think again, hindsight's 2020. AI is very similar to getting a puppy. Like it sounds really cool and it's really exciting. And then you bring it into your stack and you're like, oh, wait, I have to teach this and train it and correct it and give redirection, very similar to getting a puppy. We in our implementation phase of our Gladly Answer Threads, which is our Gladly Gen AI product that provides customer facing answers through our chat platform. We were testing it out, and there was a particular product on our website that I kept going in and asking for specific product knowledge. And I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, this thing is not working. It's not giving me the right answer. And so I had this sort of aha moment where I then went and checked like our product page on our website and realized, oh, the information I'm asking for actually isn't there yet. So as much work as we had done on kind of building and consolidating that knowledge base, we've had quite a few lessons learned through our journey of we have to continuously quality check, train, and monitor all of these things because there's not the level of intuition yet that it just knows, oh, I don't actually have that information. So we had to go back and correct that product page to be able to then service customers with the right information. So we've had a lot of those kind of learning lessons along the way. And I will say most of them have been oops on our part or something that we maybe took for granted or didn't think all the way through. But again, if I can equate it to, it's like having a puppy, and it's kind of a learning lesson for all of us, it makes it a little bit easier to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really love the analogy of the puppy because I think it fits so perfectly with the amount of work that AI takes. There is this, so there is this concept of, yes, AI does, take work off our plates, but in the beginning, at least, there is a lot of foundational work that goes into making sure it's getting to that point. And even if
Mhm.
you think of the puppy, once it's an adult dog, there are still things you need to do, right? You need to make sure you
Yeah.
take it on walk. You need to, make sure there are those regular vet appointments. And as your AI implementation journey, as you're like on it, the further along you get, the amount of work does reduce, but there is still that level of maintenance and making sure that it's still, responding the way you want to.
Mhm.
It's still taking in new information that you're giving it. And so I really love that idea of AI is like a puppy, and then even as it's an adult dog, you still need to take care of it, and there are still those maintenance things that you need to keep on top of.
Yeah.
Um, to your point as well, Mandy, of not realizing that there was missing information or information you had not provided to your AI that could have helped resolve some of those questions you were asking about a specific product. We are getting close to releasing something that will be able to do that. So we will be able to identify, hey, we're getting like 10 questions about this one thing, but it's not in the training that you provided. Can you give us an answer so we can then, moving forward, answer those specific questions? So that's coming up as well, which is super
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, I really love that analogy. um, Diving a little deeper into like post implementation as well. Now we touched on implementation lessons you learned. I'm really interested in knowing how you navigated one of the biggest concerns that normally comes up with AI, which is the risk of losing personal touch. That's something that's super important in customer service as well, right? That personal touch, that
Mhm.
human touch that you want to offer. Now that AI is part of your agent workflows and even has some of those customer facing elements, have you found it actually add to the personal touch, or does it still, do you think there is validity in it being, in people saying, oh, it's actually detracting from a more personalized experience for customers?
Yeah, I love this question. I think, we initially saw, I would say, like the magic happen with AI when we had the enhancement of our written communication. Going back to the example I used earlier, where we talked about using AI to make our written communication either friendly or more professional, I think it really provided a better customer interaction. And then I think the second kind of iteration of that is we use AI voice summaries through the Gladly platform. And what that does is, like, post customer contact, the agent's able to get a summarized version of their contact that auto populates for them. So they don't have to spend time post call thinking about what all transpired on that contact and how am I going to leave detailed notes here. And how that equates to personalizing for the customer, I think there's two pieces. One, I think it allows them to focus more on what are the needs of the customer, because they're not spending their time engaged with the customer also typing out those notes. And then I think the second piece we've seen with that is, when you look at a customer profile in Gladly, it's a holistic view of all of the things that have happened or transpired with that customer. And when you can get a really good summarization of that, if there's a follow-up conversation with the customer or a follow-up task that needs to happen with the customer, it allows the agent to really meet that customer where they're at, because so much of that work is detailed out for the agent in a summarized version. So I think those are probably two of the things where we've seen. I will say, I think as AI evolves, this is one of the personalization for customers is one of the spaces where we're going to see some of the largest impact when it comes to just the customer experience in general, because I think we're going to be able to gain so much more knowledge of our customers, how they operate, how they think about the business, how they purchase with us, how they want to do business with us, and then be able to tailor our AI product and our AI usage towards meeting the needs of those customers. So this is one I feel really excited about, just how this is going to evolve for sort of that AI human kind of hybrid approach to customer experience.
Yep, totally, totally. And I do feel like that's where we will see the most value for customers as well. Like this idea of AI being able to handle everything end to end. Yes, to some extent, that's going to be great for customers. Self-service, they can do it anytime. They don't need to talk to an agent to do certain things. But having an agent be part of that loop, maybe it's a handoff from AI to agent and then back to AI to close the loop on things. Having that be a comprehensive journey for customers, I think is definitely where we are headed in the industry. And the idea that AI can actually provide that context to agents to be able to upsell or to even further personalize, that customer interaction, especially if it's
Yeah.
high impact customer interaction that needs that high touch. That's going to be a game changer moving forward as well. You mentioned voice summaries, and I think one of the things that I really liked that you brought up is that it's also allowing agents to be very focused on the customer conversation that they're having, as opposed to being like, oh, did I get that right? Did I take that note down?
Right.
And and so they're really engaged in that, which I'm sure the customer will get as well as part of that conversation. They feel the agent is engaged, and it's also that context that the agent has available makes the customer feel like you know them, right? It's personalization at scale, which I think is where AI is going to really help. Is the customer doesn't know that the agent is using AI to help do some of these things. The customer feels like, oh, this person knows me. The business that that I'm a patron of knows me, and that goes a long way as well for customer experience in general. So we touched on personal, how we maintain that personalization even though we're using AI, and just in general, we have touched on so many things so far, right? We have touched on decision to introduce AI, early misconceptions you had, how you won over your team and actually got AI implemented. So now I want to kind of, as we're getting to towards the end of this conversation, I want to dive a little deeper into measuring and tracking of AI performance. And I'm curious, are there any specific KPIs that have been more meaningful to you in measuring AI, or how do you go about kind of seeing if your AI implementation is successful?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say here is we're very new into our AI world. We just implemented Gladly Answers about 6 weeks ago. So we still have a long road ahead of us, which is exciting. And a lot of our learnings and quote metrics so far have been a lot of anecdotal feedback. And I think we're still figuring out how do we qualify and quantify the results of this. So more to come on this. Stay tuned, right? More to come on this. And I'll be excited to kind of come back to this conversation in this group and share some of these learnings. But one thing I will highlight is that layering in AI to our chat platform has immediately resulted in 16% of our chats are being fully resolved by the AI technology or the bot, if you will. And that's start to finish. So for us, coming right out of the gate, still having these opportunities to learn and quote train this bot, to divert 16% of that traffic right away is a huge win for us. And I think you said it just a minute ago when you talked about what does AI, allow an agent to do. It gives back more of that personalized time. It allows them time to focus on the more complex situations that a customer has versus some of those just very simple, product knowledge questions or things that we've been able to divert. So that's kind of one of our first and biggest celebrated successes and things that we're measuring. But like I said, as we get kind of further down this journey, we'll look at other ways to quantify some of the success and ROI of doing this. Anecdotally, I will say, like, feedback from our team and even just kind of starting conversations with the customers around how their experience went with that AI transaction has been really positive. I think some of it has to do with, how we integrated it and how we introduced it with the team. But I think everyone, generally speaking, folks are really excited about just what this means and having solutions at their hands.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting that you brought up is, again, how anecdotal information right now is what you have access to, and that's completely um, it's understandable because a lot of folks are just getting into AI, right? You're 6 weeks
Yeah,
into it. You're
yeah,
still in the, as you mentioned, you're in the puppy phase, right? You're still
yeah,
kind of getting used to it. So there is, it's almost kind of a new world. There are some of those customer, CX metrics that you already might be using, like FCR, average handle time. Like, those are things that we are comfortable with. But in this new world of AI, there is a requirement to relook at some of those KPIs and kind of see how does this fit into this new world. So I think you're definitely on the right track by bringing in some of those anecdotal feedback early on to kind of get a directional insight
mhm.
into how AI is performing.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's
and
important to always have a pulse, right? Especially as a leader of a team. What's the pulse of the customer? What's the pulse of the agents? If we walked in and put this time and effort into doing this, and the agents came back and said, this is terrible, it's not helping our lives, it's not impacting our customers' experience, we would pivot because it's a priority for us to listen to that feedback, even if it is anecdotal. Like, we want to make sure that the sentiment is good and moving in a positive direction.
yes, totally. We are now coming towards the end of our chat here today, Mandy, but I want to end with almost like a summarization of everything that we went over. I'm sure for the folks listening, they're also probably wondering how they can apply AI to their own CX strategies, or what are some pitfalls that they should be aware of while they kind of embark on this journey. So based on your experience so far, what are your top one or two recommendations on things that they definitely should do or things that they should avoid to make their AI journey as smooth as possible?
Yeah, I love this question. I think there's a few things. One is, there's so much AI being thrown out to all of us, especially in the CX industry. And because there's a lot of low hanging fruit when it comes to things that AI can address. So, first things first, do your research. It's interesting, we sat, Chad and Execs in the Know hosted a conversation a few weeks ago where we talked a lot about, are people using AI or are they not using AI? And there was still a lot of hesitancy from the perspective of, governance and, what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. Because right now everyone's trying to figure out how they fit into an AI space from a technological standpoint. So I would say the first thing is do your research. There's a lot of really cool AI stuff happening out in the world, and a lot of cool things that can do for your business, for your customers, for your stack, for all of it. So do the research first, understand just the broad picture of what everyone's doing, and then start to connect what are the best resources that are going to have those impacts that are important to you. Our important impact initially was customer experience and agent experience. For somebody else, their immediate ROI may be to save cost, or their immediate ROI may be to reduce contact volume. So I think there's a lot of different perspectives to take with this. But number one is do the research. And then I think the number two thing I would say, and lesson learned for us, I reference back to that sort of puppy analogy, but AI doesn't do the work for you. You still have to do the work for AI, and not to take for granted that it knows a lot of things, right? It being this sort of other entity. And we've been amazed with things like constructing, my text messages to my daughter in the tone of Dr. Seuss. At the same time, there's still so much more we have to teach and innovate on and think about in this space. So that would be the kind of the number two is like, don't take that for granted and go into whatever your implementation looks like, having that in mind and having that preparation. In a lot of conversations with other industry leaders, the other kind of hot topic has been, who owns this in an AI space? Like, who is teaching AI and what does that role look like? And is that a new role that's going to exist in the CX space, or is that a new role that's going to exist in IT, or is that a new role that's going to exist in an innovative space? And where does that live, and what does that kind of future look like? So I think there's lots to come on this one.
Yeah, and it's definitely a changing and evolving space, right? AI in general and the impact that it's having in CX. So there is going to be a lot of that learning, but a lot of your experience, I'm sure, is going to help folks listening on in this call to kind of implement AI, feel a little more better maybe of what AI might do for them and their organization, and how it might help their agents, and eventually, like, the ultimate goal is to make sure that your customers are happy and that your agents are like operating at peak efficiency and are happy with what they're doing and are feeling engaged in their roles. So I think those are great pointers for anyone listening in to kind of embark on that journey. Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of this conversation, Mandy. It's big thanks to you for kind of sharing your experience with implementing AI. A big thanks to Executives in the Know for giving us the opportunity to do this as well. Chad, thank you so much for having us. And I think that leaves us some time to get to any questions if we have them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Nadine and Mandy, thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to the conversation. Someday, Mandy, I want to meet this Stanley, and I want to meet that puppy at the shelter that you adopted. Piece of it. But
they're both real.
All good. Nadine, I want to start with you. From a Gladly perspective, Mandy was one case study of today. Where are you seeing a lot of different brands talking with you guys about entry points, starting points? Is there, I know it can vary by brand, I get all of that, but is there sort of a common way people are starting? That's number one. And number two, is it a myth of how structured and organized does your data have to be effective?
Those are really great questions, Chad. And I think you hit on the right on the mark with it. Varies from organization to organization on how they are kind of implementing AI. But one of the things that I've seen across the board is earlier folks were looking at AI as a way of, let's reduce costs, let's improve efficiency. But more and more, I'm hearing folks talk about let's improve the customer experience in general. Like, our customers want self-service options. Our customers want to get these answers on the go. They don't always want to talk to an agent. So let's make it possible for them to do that. So that might vary from business to business on what their customer base wants, right? Sometimes you want a very high self-service element to your customer service because that's what your customers are asking for. And we often see folks start there when they're implementing AI. It's generally from that perspective of, okay, can we make sure that our customers feel supported and are getting what they need when they need? And to Mandy's point, like, it's the opposite, right? We started with agent assist and AI tools that can improve agent efficiency and make agents feel more supported before moving into that self-service track. But what I've seen be the common element there is that let's do what our customers are asking for. And often that begins with, let's implement some sort of self-service AI. And to your second question of structuring data, I think that's very key when it comes to training AI. Like to Mandy's point, you might have all of this information all across the organization, right? Your agents know where to go to get certain information. They know where certain macros are. They know who to hit up regarding a specific issue, but your AI doesn't have that context. So being able to pull all of that together, have a central source of truth that the AI can then learn from and then start implementing is really key when you're looking at some of those self-service options where you want to make sure that your AI is able to provide end-to-end resolution, right? That's where that data it comes in, and it becomes really important to have cleaned house and have all of that data in one place.
Yeah, it's a great debate, and I was just thinking, Mandy, in your case, we always want the data to be perfect before we do the great handoff or that leap of faith like you did, but reality is never going to be perfect. So were you, in your data handoff at the time when you jumped off, did you feel you're kind of 50% ready? Did you feel 90% ready with that data structure? I don't know if there's a magic number, but you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, where do you feel got it?
I'll be honest, not for, I think if I had to quantify it, I would say you're probably right at about 50% ready. We felt like we were more ready than we were, but I think the lesson learned was not so much in how organized was the data, but how are we going to feed that into the AI? Because it may have been digestible to us, but digestible to go through the AI and then transmit to a customer or an agent for a resolution sort of brought in a whole new way of looking at the data. So again, I think some of it's just maybe perspective, but it's definitely been a lesson learned for us. And we've had to revisit how we had our data organized. We've had to revisit how it was even just, call it typed out or stored so that it was leveraged better from the AI perspective.
Yeah. Mandy, just a real shining star, taking that belief and that faith and recognizing, maybe that perfect world is not there, but we're going to get there, or this will help us elevate it quicker. I want to take a couple of steps back, Mandy, with you for quick clarification. I'll do this kind of rapid fire because of time. Your customer, is your customer B2B, B2C, both? Who are you? I just want to make sure I understand your customer.
Yeah, great question, Chad. We have a multitude of customers. So yes, we primarily service a B2B community, but from a customer care perspective and in thinking about how we're leveraging both Gladly and some of these AI platforms we talked about today, that's really geared towards and focused on our direct to consumer population. So these are folks that are purchasing directly from our websites, or maybe, parents, family members of athletes versus some of our institutional customers, which can be schools or, youth organizations, recreation centers, things like that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So both predominantly B2B, but both sides of the house. And for clarification, where you've completely leveraged AI, so to speak, or learning through it, you're doing the voice today, correct? I don't know if there's a name to that product, but voice summaries, correct?
We're doing voice summaries. We're doing what we call agent authoring, which is where we
Email,
assist
chat,
the agents in their, Yep.
Yeah, is that Stanley, part of Stanley, I guess, in that area?
We've kind of categorized all of it as, quote, Stanley.
Okay.
So anything that's agent or customer facing, we're all encompassing with Stanley.
Okay, and then you have an AI generative AI chatbot that's interactive and in that customer facing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, lots to learn here. Keep us completely posted on how the journey continues to go. And I know you talked a bit about lessons learned. Thank you. And I'm not going to ask you to kind of reiterate any of those things that you shared in there. But it would be interesting, Mandy, if we had this same conversation 2 years from now, where do you would be at this? And we'll kind of end at that question. Where would you like to be? What do you think we're going to be with AI, self-service, all this stuff we've been talking about in your case study?
Yeah, I think the North Star is always, how do we provide the best customer and employee experience? I've said that a few times. But where we go with this, I think there's so many different avenues. I envision a world where we have, I briefly mentioned it before, but kind of this hybrid world that exists where, our agents and customers are assisted and their experiences are enhanced by AI. But I think the second iteration of that is that we get this much deeper understanding of our customers and what they really want and what they really need, but also what drives them to customer service. Because we've talked a lot in our industry about, when a customer reaches out to customer service, it's not because something's going well and they want to give us positive feedback. It's because there's a problem and something that we need to fix. So I think the next kind of iteration is then, how do we leverage all of this knowledge and understanding to start to really fix problems, identify root causes, remove pain points for our customer, and I think, and our employees, both alike. But I think we're going to get some really good, rich data from all of these kind of different touch points that we're starting to implement to be able to really solve, I'd like to say solve the world's problems, but solve our world's problems, because we'll have that kind of deeper understanding. And then in turn, be able to service our customers at a completely different level, because the only thing they're going to really need us for, like I said before, is the complicated or the complex things that we haven't solved through some of these new options.
Wow. Well, you're a true blessing. Thank you for being part of the community of execs in the know. Thank you for all the contributions you do, both internally, externally, and everything in between. Thank you. Nadine, I want to say thank you to you also, and I'm just going to really put a request out to you, Nadine, and the Gladly family, that you continue to keep us well apprised of case studies like Mandy and other successes that are going on, that we can learn together, push them out to the larger audience, and just help us learn through this together as we all try to make the industry better. So that's my ask.
Will do, Chad. Will do.
Well, on behalf of Execs in the Know audience, I can't say thank you enough for your time. Mandy and Nadine, thank you. Keep being change makers, difference makers, doing what you do. What a fantastic time we live and work in today. It's exciting to be part of. So this will conclude today's session, today's webinar. It was a fantastic opportunity to hear the case study, and both of you did a great job. I really appreciate it. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having